All right. We're back with the Midwest Sports Podcast. Coming at you live, but not really because we're recording this. I definitely stole that from you. How you doing?
Yes, you definitely did. Good, dude. Not too bad. Little midday, midweek recording sesh. Not usually our normal time,
I
so
don't know. I'm liking all the mid
I don't know.
though.
Feels out of place. A lot of mid,
A
yeah.
lot of mid.
Going along with the theme. Going along
Yeah.
with the theme.
Going along with it.
But yeah, I mean, this honestly, it's been kind of depressing as of late until yesterday. Because a lot, you know what? A lot of grown ass people cried yesterday. A lot of grown ass Minnesota sports fans wept yesterday
Well, tell us a
because
little bit
for
about
the first
why.
time, for the first time since 2004, the Twins have won a playoff game, and they went until yesterday. They were 0 and 18 in their last 18 playoff games, and they lost 13 of those games to the Yankees. So Blue Jays came to town yesterday, and uh, basically the team kind of said, "Not on my watch, not on our watch.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna fucking turn this thing around here. We're gonna turn this thing around." And yeah, definitely a little bit of emotional day for me too, man. It's been a lot of brutal, just brutal experiences, and I don't when I grew up, my grandparents watched the Twins all the time. So in the summer, I'd watch them all the time. And I'm not one of those people that watches all 162 games, but I'll tune in if there's a big game happening or if it's like the playoffs. That's kind of when I tune in to baseball in general. Anyway, for me, unless I'm going to a game, like it's just not fun to watch on TV unless it's postseason for me. Oh yeah, we're getting that nationwide alert. Anyway,
Yeah, this for those
so,
of you who want to get this video dated, the national test of the alert service just went out.
just went out, yeah. But yeah, so just so many different emotions. They finally won, and it was awesome. And I personally feel like the American League side of the playoffs is pretty wide open this year. Like the National League, I feel like the Braves and the Dodgers are going to end up in the NLCS, but I feel like the American League is pretty wide open. And so if the Twins win today, they move on to play the Astros on Saturday. If they don't, then Game 3 is tomorrow. But yeah, I just feel like if they can, they have one of the best pitching staffs in the league. If they can just get it past this round into the second round, who knows what can happen, right? Like you just never know. So
Baseball,
super
like
pumped.
in the playoffs, it's about pitching. You know.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, defense. Yeah, they were saying on the broadcast yesterday, like I've never seen a team with bad defense and bad pitching go far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the Twins experienced that in 2019 when they had the Bomba Squad and they hit the most home runs in a season, and then they couldn't do anything in the playoffs. They lost their bats. They lost to the Yankees, and but their pitching. They one of their pitchers in Game 2 at Yankee Stadium was a fucking Uber driver 3 months before that. So that just goes to show you really need pitching in the playoffs. And yeah, yesterday was just awesome. And I think I've talked to you about Royce Lewis before. He's a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He hit 4 grand slams in the regular season. His first playoff at bat yesterday, 2-run home run. And then he hit another home run. And so he hit in his first playoff game ever, he hit 2 home runs, just put the team on his back. He was responsible for all 3 runs scored yesterday. And it was awesome. And the pitching was phenomenal, outstanding.
I look at the standings and how everything kind of played out in the playoffs, and a lot of people are like, "Oh man, the Twins won the Central by default," and I'm just like, in the American League, like, come on now. There's no default in baseball. When there's 162 games involved, you got to be good to win a division. So I'm happy for you. I'm happy the Twins are winning. Good luck to them tonight. I want to see the Twins win a series, mostly because I'm just kind of over it, I'm I'm kind of over the same
Mm-hmm.
teams being good in baseball every year. Like I really like how
Yeah.
this year it really feels like anyone in the AL can really do something. Except like I know Houston's gonna be good, but
Yeah.
other than that, like any team in there can really pop off. And like the NL, you never know. You know the Marlins and the Diamondbacks could be wild cards, like in the purest sense. You know, so
Yeah. Yep. Well, the Diamondbacks were down 3-0 to the Brewers yesterday, and they came back and won 6-3. So I mean,
I'm a
and that was
Brewers
an away
fan for
game.
this
So
week. I want the Brewers to win because I think that team could go far, and I don't want anyone in my division to win another World Series. So
can we also just say? Can I just say one thing? What the fuck? So you say tonight the game? So the games are at for the Twins. Every game in the series is at 3:30 Central Time, 2:30. Like what are we doing here? Can we get these games at night? I don't need them all to be broadcasts like throughout the day. Like I want like how's the Joe Schmo 9 to 5 guy supposed to just take off a Tuesday or a Wednesday and head
that's
over to the
true.
game?
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
that's super
and
true.
oh, but the stadium was packed. Stadium was packed yesterday, and the fans were fucking awesome. Like you know how like when you go to well yeah you go to Avs games, but like when you go to
Oh yeah.
NHL games and the fans start chanting the opposing goalie's name.
Oh man, my favorite one was I went to the home opener the year we won the Stanley Cup, and that was the year when Marc-Andre Fleury got moved to Chicago, and that was we took it just we'd just taken a pretty bad playoff loss to him in the Golden Knights the year prior, and so when
Mhm.
every time we scored a goal, you just hear 18,000 people, Flurry, Flurry.
Mhm.
And it's just the best thing ever. I love it. I love it because that guy has been the Avalanche's kryptonite for a decade, man.
Dude, it's so cool. And you know, it just gives you the chills. And so like yesterday, what happened is like after that home run in the first inning, the 2-run home run, the fans like every time before he was throwing like in between pitches, they were just chanting his name, the Blue Jays pitcher, and like you could just tell they were super into like they were just like there's so many it's like 19 years of frustration pent up in playoff loss. Like the place was just ready to explode, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think like it's good for the city, it's good for the fans, and dude, even if all I'm hoping for at this point, like what I was hoping for when the postseason started was just win one, right? Like give me a goddamn
Mhm.
playoff game, give me a win. But now, like
Now you're hungry.
I think ALDS, yeah, I'm hungry, and I think like ALDS, putting up a fight in the ALDS would be like, okay, this is sick.
Even just
I'm
like
not asking for anything more than that.
winning the series and getting there, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like
And if they end up making some noise, like fuck, and I think if they end up winning the series and playing Houston, I think Verlander is the starting pitcher for Houston on Saturday, but he's also 40 years old now. So
you never know.
who knows? It's been a long
He's
season.
got that
Anyway,
magic though. But I mean, I totally get
he
how you feel
does.
because my Rockies, I just love them to, get to like 90 wins, just
Right.
be like over 500, get to 82 first, like come on. It's tough, it's
Yeah.
brutal. So, I don't know. Third worst team in
Dude,
baseball this year is
that's
not
the
great.
yeah, and that's the one thing out here. Like I've talked to some of my other friends too who are, Rockies fans, and like just they're like, oh, the playoffs started. I had no idea. Like I have no reason to be invested in
We
baseball. And the
haven't made
truth
it
is
out
that
of the
the Rockies
wild card
don't.
round in forever.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I just shout out to the Twins. Shout out
Yep.
to you know just good luck today. I hope, and that's the thing. They need to win today. Like I don't want to fuck around with the game three. Don't give me that shit. Like just take care of business today. Hopefully the fans can get behind them again, and yeah, then it can be on to the next series. But just wanted to start the podcast out by shouting out the Twins and fucking stoked for them. So
Well, the Twins are a Minnesota team, so we cover them because they're actually worth talking about, unlike the
yep,
Rockies. But let's go ahead and move on because we have 2 weeks of NFL action. Boy, were they at 2 weeks to talk about. We had a pretty contrasting series of
oh
events that
gosh,
happened this week. So I would like to start in Denver, and I feel like a lot of people were expecting a lot of anger to come out of this game, but I'm gonna just tell you it's not there. This game defeated me as a fan. Of course talking about the Week 3 matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos in Miami, where they hung a 70 steamer on us. They just completely ruined us. Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator, needs to be fired. It is that simple. That guy having a job is a detriment to the team and honestly football in general, because people turn this on and go, "Wow, what am I watching? This is ridiculous." So,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't blame this one on the offense. All 7 or all 10 touchdowns were scored by the offense. There was no special teams play. There were no pick sixes or scoop and scores. Nothing like that. There was only a couple turnovers that, ultimately, if you want to attribute the turnovers to points, that's fine. That's only 21 points out of the 70 that were given up. So the defense would have still been responsible for 49 points being dropped on us, which is still a blowout by a significant margin. 49-20 sucks. So, I think it's time to blow it up. I do. I think it's time that we all ultimately just shut it down, blow it up, fire everybody except for Sean Payton. Get Russell out of here, trade him, get some picks, get some draft capital. Let's just rebuild. Let's just blow it all up. Trade all our receivers, trade Surtain, trade Justin Simmons, get him out of here, get him on teams that can win. Garrett Bowles, our left tackle after the Miami game, said it best. All he's done since he's been here is lose. We haven't had a winning season with him on our team. And so it's just time to blow it up. We've been like wrestling with this, oh, we're just a quarterback away thing for 3, 4, 5 years now. And we're not. This showed it. We're not. Our defense is not there. It fell off a cliff because Vance Joseph's an idiot. Doesn't know how to call defense in the NFL anymore. Maybe he could have a couple years ago. Maybe he did a decent-ish and a heavily-ish job in Arizona for the first 2 years and then fell off a cliff last year. But like this year, I don't know how you excuse that performance. I don't know how you look at your defensive coordinator after looking at that tape and saying, you deserve to be here still. I don't understand how you could do that. Sean Payton, after the game in his press conference interview, said, we need to look at if you're even in the right stuff. And that is like on a fundamental level on the defensive coordinator. They're not calling the right personnel groups. They're not calling the right positions. They're not calling the right plays. They're dialing up things in the wrong spots. That's not a player personnel thing. This defensive coordinator is blatantly dumb thing. That's not coming from the players. Yeah, they didn't play well, but they weren't even given a chance to play well. Look at Patrick Surtain. That's one of the best corners in the game right now. And he was made to look like a fool by Mike White and a backup receiver just because there was nothing we could do. We were not in the right sets. I don't have much to say about the offense in this game except for like guys, receivers, figure it out. Cortland Sutton, you got to do better. But that Tua and Russ had almost identical stats minus the touchdown passes. I believe Russ threw for 6 yards less than Tua did. And when your quarterback plays well like that loss wasn't Russ's fault. It was entirely on the defense. And I feel like this year, no matter what we're going to do, because we're scoring points, we're not dead last in the offensive categories anymore. We're scoring some points now, minus the first week against Las Vegas, but the defense is it's not there. And we deserved to lose that game. In every possible world, we should lose this game. Now, I want to shout out Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills, because they have been the Broncos' big brother this year. Every time we get bullied by a team, Buffalo goes and stomps them. Las Vegas, they beat us by 1 and then get blown out by Buffalo. What was it, 38-10. Washington comes to town, beats us by 1 after the tail point conversion is definitely PI, not called PI. And then they go and just get obliterated by Buffalo. I can't even remember the score to that game, but it wasn't pretty. And then Miami stomps us 70-20, and Buffalo just comes into town, and they're like, hey, yo, Miami, hey, welcome back to real life. This is what it's like to play a real team, and just go ahead and whoop them. So thank you, Buffalo. You've been our big brother this year. We don't need you for Chicago, but thank you for that. We appreciate it. Thanks for cleaning up our mess.
Yeah, I think that that game, the Miami game, it's when a team when your team gets blown, like when it's that bad, like all you can kind of do is just like laugh about it. Like it gets past a point where it's like infuriating, and it's more just like, Jesus, we suck. You know what I mean?
You
It's
can't
just
be
like
mad.
you kind of just have to. Yeah, you can't be mad. It's like,
That
yeah, this
was
wasn't our week, whatever.
that
And
was the worst blowout in NFL history since 1963.
right, right.
And that was the first time a
And I
team has
think
scored 70 since then, too. It was the third highest. They could have gotten the record had McDaniels not been generous and not kicked the field goal. He totally should have. And I say, as a Broncos fan, kick that field goal. Get the record. You
hmm
earned it.
hmm
So that's what I say. I don't like that he didn't do that, but it could have been the worst blowout in NFL history.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, too, to your point with like Russ and the stat line, from what I've gathered from Broncos fans this year too, is like Russ really hasn't been the problem.
He hasn't helped. He
Like,
hasn't won us any
right,
games,
but
but he hasn't been the problem.
yeah,
He's made a
yeah,
couple really dumb decisions that just infuriate the hell out of me. But like especially in the Miami game, like he played well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think like we
yeah.
brought
It's one
Sean
of those
Payton in to
games.
fix him, and I think for the most part we did. I think he still needs to learn how to not turn around and run backwards and take a sack. Like he doesn't have the speed he used to, and I think he's got to get used to that. But
Yeah,
like he's just I think spend more time getting used to playing in the pocket a little bit more, and you've got yourself a decent quarterback in Russ. And I think maybe, but like I think that's not going to matter if our defense keeps letting up. You know,
right.
we let up what was it 730 something yards of total offense. It can't happen.
Yeah,
Like Tyreek Hill had enough yards in that game alone to be a whole Broncos offense from last year by himself. That like we can't be doing that. So
yeah, yeah. And I think too, like as far as with Russ, I think they've just put way too much money into him to
mhm.
give up after season two. So I think, yeah, I'm kind of down or not. I agree with what you're saying about like I think they do need to like just start from scratch. I know that's not Russ probably doesn't want to do that, but it's like you kind of they're not in a place where they're gonna go anywhere,
Mm-mm.
especially in the division they're in. So like
Because Kansas
the
City ain't
Chiefs are
gonna
gonna
fall
be
off a cliff anytime soon.
right. Yeah, so it's like it's really tough, and especially they stuck all this money into free agency, and to have the result of being 0-3 after 3 weeks is like, yeah, I mean
And
you kind of get restless, and as a Bronc,
it's not just like an 0-3, like, oh, they're 0-3, but they'll get it. It's like we're 0-3 and there's
no,
no real
yeah,
open sight.
right, yeah, exactly, and then you sit there after you lose by 50 points, and then you kind of go to the toilet bowl the next week because it's two 0-3 teams against the Bears.
The Bears.
Um, yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'll let you kind of talk about that one. I mean, that game was a fucking roller coaster.
I think I've changed my mind, and I think I want to hear what your thoughts about the Packers Saints game were before I go into the Bears, because then
Mm,
we can kind of um, talk about it like week to week, because like
okay.
going out of week 3, we had very different outlooks, I think.
Oh
So
yeah. hmm
than
hmm
what we
Yeah.
have now. So let's talk about the week 3 game, New Orleans at Green Bay. Let's talk about how that happened.
Yeah. So that game, man, it was not looking great for 3 quarters. Maybe like 2.9, excuse me, 9 quarters. Um, first home game of the season, packed house, Lambeau. People are rocking and rolling, ready to just get the season off to or kick the home games off here. And historically the Packers do well at Lambeau. Like they don't. There's been very few years or games there where like they're just you feel like they're not in the game. They're not in it. They don't have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron Jones was still out. That it was like they were missing Aaron Jones. Watson still hadn't played yet. Shocker. Jair Alexander didn't play. Um, and Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins were out for the offensive line too. And this is like the first week where Love was going against a good defense. Up until that game, they had only allowed one touchdown in the first two games, the Saints defense. So like this was going to be the true test, right? Like with makeshift O line, your two best offensive linemen out. Like what can you do? What can you do? Even though you don't have Aaron Jones, like can you still make something happen? And for like the first three quarters, nothing happened. They got booed off the field. If I was there, I would have fucking done the same thing. Like I saw on Reddit, somebody was like, "Oh, is it inappropriate to boo your team when they're not doing well?" It's like, what kind of world are we living in here? Fucking soft. I don't care if I pay $200 to $300 for an NFL ticket and I show up and they don't score a single point in the first half and it looks like they don't even want to be there. I'm fucking booing. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what it looked like. Like uninspired. Love couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with his passes. AJ Dillon was tripping over himself again, running into offensive linemen instead of running through holes. Like they just couldn't do a damn thing. And like credit not to Joe Barry, but to the defense for like keeping. I mean,
it could have been
kind of keeping them in the game. It could have been worse. Yeah, I mean they, so. And then you'll get Saints fans in your mentions being like, "Oh, if Derek Carr wouldn't have went out," it's like, hang on a second, like Derek Carr wasn't doing that well to begin with.
I mean,
So who knows what could have
agree
happened?
with them that if Derek Carr finishes that game, they win, because Derek Carr is not Kirk Cousins. He's going to take care of the football late, at least for the most part. So I think that if he were in the game, he probably could have led a drive for them to be able to do something more.
Yeah, but you should also ask the same of Jameis Winston though. He's a veteran quarterback. He started for years. Like he's got a little bit of a resume.
Oh, I'm not saying
I don't know.
Jameis Winston can't. I'm just saying Derek Carr can.
Yeah, I get you. And
like,
yeah, so for whatever reason in the fourth,
was that good, they never would have brought Derek Carr in there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and no, I hear you. I for me, it's like you play against who you play, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like the Packers were missing. Yeah, like the Packers were missing all of these all pro veteran players, and we still had to go out there and compete. So you could make the argument too that like, oh well, if so and so would have been playing, the Packers might have won in a blowout. Well, actually, that would never happen because LaFleur doesn't know how to coach. Anyway, so yeah, the fourth quarter happens, and all of a sudden, like, Saints are in prevent, and surprise, surprise, Love starts cooking it up, right? Like he, starts slinging the ball around. They're in soft coverage. He's finding the open man, which he should be doing. And for whatever miraculous reason, actually, well, it took all those the comeback, going for two after the first touchdown, and then the Saints missing a field goal. If the Saints don't miss that field goal, the Packers would have been
toast.
1-3 or 1-2 after the first 3 weeks. So yeah, it was just like, it was super frustrating. To like watch most of that game, and for me, like I was a little excited after the win, but I just kind of felt like, man, that was not a good win at all. Like they kind of didn't deserve it, in my opinion. So yeah, just feeling kind of lackluster.
Like, hey,
we did it again. There were a bunch of
mark, but we didn't earn it, sort of thing.
Right. That's what I thought. Yeah, and people were like, "Oh, Love is so clutch, this and that." It's like, oh well, why isn't he doing this the entire game? So,
I mean, I think
anyway, I know defense.
I think that with the Packers, there's such a like, they're gonna be the Vikings of last year. I don't think to the extent that the Vikings were, but I definitely think that the Packers are gonna be that team that somehow gets outscored but keeps finding ways to win. Whether it be the team that they're playing wants to give away the game, or if it's, just some kind of dumb luck where we end up, because like look at, other than the Chicago game, like the other, we only beat New Orleans by 1. So
Right.
and we lost to Atlanta. What was it? Wasn't that by 1?
By 1. Yeah,
Yeah.
by 1.
So you exclude the Chicago game, and that's a 2-point deficit. That just kind of offsets itself. One up, one down, and I think
Yeah.
the Green Bay is really going to be that heart attack team this year, where every game, for the most part, I think is going to come down to some of these more touchy plays. Because if you look at their schedule, they got a
Yeah.
lot of bad teams on their schedule, which I think they're going to play down to a lot. And then the good teams, they'll make it interesting in the second half when they realize that, running the ball is good, and they're facing prevent defenses more. That I think they're just going to
Yeah.
overachieve their way into almost a winning record that way. Like I see them doing that the same way the Vikings did last year.
Yeah.
Looking at the
I don't
Vikings
think that's
now,
too far off of a take.
looking at the Vikings now, it's pretty clear this is what they always were. It's just now this year they're not getting the bounces.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Unless they play the Chargers, and then they outcharge the Chargers. So.
Yep.
Um.
Oh man. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. So
Let's go ahead and move
just
on into week
lackluster.
4, and let's talk about week 4, because that's the one that just kind of happened. That's fresh off our minds, and I really, 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 really want to get into the Chicago game, where everything that I said in the Dolphins game reigns true here. I think, the offense took a while, but it gave us what we wanted. We got an opening touchdown. We went kind of soft and quiet for a while, and then we were able to figure it out in the second half, mostly, towards the end of that game. But it really is the tale of two halves, I think, for Chicago, because the first half, Denver could not force an incompletion until a Hail Mary attempt at the end of the first half, and that's the only incompletion Justin Fields threw. He went, what was it, 17 for 18 in the first half, I believe, and it's Justin Fields, one of the most inaccurate throwers of the football in the NFL. How on earth?
Yeah, he was cooking.
How on earth are we going to let that guy just toast us for 3 tutties in one half?
Can't happen.
How, we won, but how do you take that as a head coach, right? Because in my mind, we run in spite of our defense. I know that we got a sack fumble that went back for a touchdown that ultimately changed the course of the game, but I don't understand how Vance Joseph still has a job after that half. I would have fired him at halftime.
Yeah, because it took Justin Fields being Justin Fields for the Broncos to win. Like like I've said on this podcast numerous times, you always bet against Justin Fields because he's a clown. He's gonna fuck up some way. Like eventually, it's going to happen. And then the fourth quarter happened, and
like
the rest is history.
I do want to talk.
And then the Broncos just capitalized.
We do want to talk about in our first half. The Chicago's got the only defense that's worse than ours, really, in terms of scoring defense. So how are we going to only put up 7 points in the first half? I think Sean Payton needs to kind of reevaluate the way he schemes for things, because it really just felt like we were running straight into the heart of that defense and just kind of put ourselves in bad situations. And again, we just won in spite of that. I do think Eberflus is going to be fired soon. He's going to be number 1 on the chopping block, I think. And I think he deserves it. He looks like he's just completely outclassed in the NFL.
Yeah.
It was the tale of two halves. And you're right. Never bet on Justin Fields, because that guy will screw up. And yeah, the O-line really let him down on the sack fumble. And I'm not going to really blame him for that. But there was plenty of opportunities for them to do more in that game. And honestly, it kind of came down to, if the Bears kick a field goal, we win. So I really
Hmm.
put this
Yep.
loss over anybody else. I really put this loss on coaching for the Bears. That was a boneheaded
Yeah.
decision because our offense had struggled all day. We weren't really doing much. We were just too dedicated to a run game that really wasn't taking us anywhere. And I mean, in the first half, Russ wasn't playing that great. So if I'm the Bears head coach there, I'm taking the points and gambling on my defense. But it really kind of showed me that they're in shambles over there. They've got a coach that doesn't trust the defense, and that defense really hasn't
Yep.
given them a reason to trust them. But at the same time, like you got to give them the opportunity to prove themselves there. It's only week 4. We already know what Chicago is. They're going to be a bottom feeder team this year, and no matter if they had won or lost this game, that wasn't going to change that. So, um, and you can't really say that they're tanking because the other 0-4 team in the league, Carolina, their first round pick is Chicago's. So
Right.
yeah, I get it. Two high first round picks are better than one, but like I don't want to put that up for tanking. I want to put that up on the coaches just being an idiot.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but I'm gonna say the same thing about this one. Our receivers have really got to figure it out. Other than Marvin Mims, I don't know really what we're doing on receiver right now. And with Javonte Williams, I'm hoping they said he was questionable for basically the rest of the game. He's on a bike, and then they ruled him out in the second half with a hip. I hope he's okay because he kind of is like the lifeblood of our offense. We don't really have a running game or a screen behind the line of scrimmage passing game without Javonte. So
Yeah.
Jaleel McLaughlin, he's shifty, he's shady. I think he can do well, but I don't think he can carry the load. So
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah.
the
And
Broncos go up to 1-3. So we are now
yep.
not winless. Um we have something going on at least, and we have
The Jets coming to
interesting
town next weekend.
interesting game in the Jets. Can like Zach Wilson looked good against Kansas City.
Yeah,
So
he looked okay for sure.
um, he looked like he found something in that game a little bit, and I'm willing to bet that if we can make Justin Fields look like Tua, then what are we gonna make? We're gonna make Zach Wilson look like Aaron Rodgers, I think. So it's
Dude.
really gonna be,
Yeah,
can our
funny.
offense stand up to that good defensive line?
Hmm. So in fantasy, because Rodgers got hurt, so both of my quarterbacks have the same bye week, and that's this week.
Mm-hmm.
So Zach Wilson's one of the quarterbacks I picked up specifically because he's going against the Broncos defense.
I honestly think that's a move. If you guys have got quarterbacks who are kind of like meh and they're playing the Broncos when you need them to have it, like when your starters got a bye week, go bet on Zach or go bet on whoever it is playing against the Broncos because we
Yeah.
cannot stop the passing game. We can't force incompletions. We scheme defenses can scheme open against us like that. Vance Joseph should not be in the NFL.
Right. And Garrett Wilson might have a field day too, so fantasy owners with him.
It depends on if we let Sertan be Sertan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if
So
if Sertan can shut down Devontae Williams, then I think he can shut down Garrett Wilson too. Like I still think Sertan is one of the better corners in the league, but it just depends on what we do. Because if we don't scheme him into the right places, it's not going to matter how good he is. That's the thing about defense. It's not just about talent. It's about you gotta scheme guys into the right spots. Gotta let them do what they do best, and that's not what we're doing with Vance Joseph and his stupid clown defense.
one more thing to think about with this Jets Broncos game is could be a hack at revenge game.
I think it will be. Honestly, I'm prepared for it. I don't think we can, especially if Javante is still kind of meh. I really don't think we can do much against that defense.
Yeah, and I think it's less about what the Broncos firing him. I think it's more about Sean Payton's comments. I think
Yeah,
that's going to fuel their team this week. So
I
that'll
think
be
you're
I'm
right.
sure that'll be a storyline. But
Oh, it will be for sure.
yeah, so
But
but
we had a Thursday night football matchup between the Detroit Football Lions and the Green Bay Football Packers.
yeah,
Let's talk about it.
um, sure. I'd like to report or file a missing persons report, and specifically for Aaron Jones, who was a go to play in that game, but for some reason didn't touch the ball until 2 minutes into the second quarter. Um, Starting out the game, throwing it 6 times in a row didn't really make much sense to me. Again, Jordan Love going up against a really good defense. Aiden Hutchinson is a fucking beast. That dude is nuts. You know, also kind of a lot of Detroit fans in the stands. That was kind of depressing. Feel like it was also, so to note too, it was also a gold package season ticket game. So they have the gold package and then they have the green package. The gold package is they do 2 games a year for them. These are the fans from Milwaukee that have had season tickets. These are their games. And it's a lot of older people who don't like to stand, who kind of whine and complain all the time. I feel like a bunch of them sold their tickets to make money, and then Lions fans scooped them up. Anyway, yeah, an absolute shit show in the first half. Again, booed off the field, rightfully so. LaFleur can't seem to call plays for anything. Jordan Love couldn't throw the ball. Um, a lack of Aaron Jones. It's either Jones starts and he starts out really hot and then he doesn't touch the ball in the second quarter, and then the Packers, offense struggles, or he doesn't get it at all until it's too late. Just
What
really,
did he have this week? What did Jones have in terms of
he scored me
carries?
two fantasy points. So
Yeah,
if that
I'm
tells you
well aware
anything,
of that.
yeah. Let's look at the stat line. I should have pulled
While
this
while you're
up.
looking at the stat line, I'm gonna air a grievance against the ESPN fantasy football app because um I have a running back issue where none of my running backs seem to want to play football when they're starting for me. And David Montgomery was listed as he was going to play, and I put him in my starting lineup for the Detroit versus Green Bay game. And for some reason, the even after telling me that, oh yeah, you're good, you've edited your team, moving him into the right spot, it seems that ESPN decided that they wanted to dupe me, and his 34 points that he put up this week went on my bench instead of in my starting lineup, so they didn't count. Would I have won without those 34 points? No. I got blown out this week again because my team is hurt and there's nothing I can do about it. But I still think that that's some nonsense. If that did cost me a win this week, I'd be a lot more furious. ESPN, figure it out.
Figure it out. Figure it out.
You
All right,
got
you ready
this.
for this?
Let's do it.
Aaron Jones, 5 carries for 18 yards.
5 carries.
The same amount as AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon had 5 carries for 11 yards.
Now, Matt LaFleur came out and said Aaron Jones was on a pitch count. But
Sure.
that to me does not excuse any of that.
Right.
And I'm curious, because if you look at what's going on, it really seems like they want to split Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon a little bit more. And this to me is a huge red flag because like Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are not nearly on the same level. And
No.
Matt LaFleur really just needs to give this like Aaron Jones needs to be like a Derrick Henry like figure where he's always in. Unless you're
Yeah.
in a certain personnel grouping where his skill set doesn't fit. He's too good to not be on the field. Our offense doesn't work
Yeah.
without him.
And I mean, even if he is on a snap count, you don't get him the ball once in the first quarter. What the fuck? Oh, it's so frustrating.
Do you think Matt
I
LaFleur's
work.
seat's getting hot?
Dude, I want him gone. I want him. I want Joe Barry fired. They can't stop the run. That's like a running joke now in the NFL. Like, just run the ball against Green Bay and you'll fucking win the game. But yeah, dude, the floor for me. I want him gone yesterday. I hope he's on the hot seat, but I already want him gone. I'm sick of it. He has no backbone. He doesn't. He makes the like. It's like he doesn't learn from his continued mistakes, and he gives these cliche press conference answers that don't give you anything. But I just don't think he's thinking about changing anything, and the same results are happening week after week.
So if you're Matt LaFleur, right, you have two 13-3 and one, or you have a 13-3 and a 13-4 season. Number one seed in the NFC 2 years in a row. Then you have a year where you kind of fall off a little bit, miss the playoffs by one game. Now you're here, right? You've lost your Hall of Fame quarterback. Do you think like this is like your prove it year, or do you think that he's kind of treating this as like, oh, I've done well. I've only had one mediocre season so far. We're still sitting at 2-2. Lay off the pressure. Do you think that's how he's thinking about this?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I do think that Green Bay does still have a shot at doing something this year, but I really do think it's going to start being in spite of Matt LaFleur's play calling.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of negatives in this game. And of course, like surprise, surprise, second half comes around. They make you believe again, right? It's like, oh, they could do it again this week. But of course they don't. They lose by 14. And I do just want to shout out Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dubs.
Romeo Dubs, 9 catches for 95 yards. It's like 10 and a half yards per catch. Like that was the average. And he caught 9 of 13 targets. Christian Watson, who all those clowns on Reddit were telling me he's going to be the number 2 option for Jordan Love. He caught 2 of 4 targets. He did have the touchdown, but two catches for 25 yards. Okay, sounds good. I thought he was going to come in and impact the game, but clearly that didn't happen. So, yeah, I don't know, man.
With Christian Watson, I definitely think this was his like welcome back week because he hasn't played yet.
Right.
So I think he needed a warm up week, and also Detroit, they've got a decent defense down there now. They've fixed a lot of the problems, I think, or at least some of them. And I think one of that is going to be they're not going to let Christian Watson be Christian Watson. So, but maybe next week look for him to have a bigger game, I think.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the people on Reddit the way that they were talking to me, it made it sound like he was going to come in and they're going to start blowing out every team. So,
yeah, no, that was foolish.
Anyway,
that was foolish.
Yeah, very foolish. But shout out to Dobbs. Dubs, you're the man. Just keep working, keep grinding.
He's good. He's going to be a good receiver for us for a while. He's kind of like the bright spot on our offense right now.
Sure. Definitely. And when Aaron Jones actually gets usage, he is too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
from what I've seen, he's not afraid to get in there and block either. He's not going to run away from it.
No, he doesn't. I saw somebody was joking that they should move AJ Dillon to the offensive line because he never misses it. He never he's always running into the defensive line, or he never misses the defensive end or defensive tackle. So just stick
to your line. That's great. That's funny. Oh,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like rinse and repeat here. Like I feel like I complain about the same shit every week. It's like inept coaching on both sides of the ball. Just, I don't know why you expect different results with the same game plan every single week. So just, doesn't make sense to me. And what's with not being prepared either? Like, why does it take a whole half of football to get settled into the game?
I think that has to do more
nonsense
with the scheme than it does with being prepared, right? Because like in the first half, in the beginning of the second half, you're relying a lot more on your scheme than live play calling. So I do think that's Matt LaFleur's scheme just not being good.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about the standings real quick before we end it today. Right now, we've got the Broncos sitting in dead last in the AFC West. We got the Chiefs up there at 1-3, or 3-1. We've got the Chargers behind them sitting at 2-2. The Las Vegas Raiders sitting at 1-3, and the Broncos also sitting at 1-3, but with a way worse point differential. So that's what's going on in the AFC West right now. We've got Denver moving to New York, or I guess New York's coming to town this week. So I fully expect Denver to lose this game. I think Zach Wilson's going to look like Aaron Rodgers out there against our defense, and I don't think our offense is going to be able to keep up with that. And we're going to lose by probably about. I say if the point spread was 7, I don't think the Broncos cover. So we both have the Broncos losing to the Jets. We both picked that when they had Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think that changes much with the way our defense is playing.
No. And then on the opposite side, the NFC North, you've got the Lions at 3-1. Packers in second place at 2-2. The Vikings, not kind of a surprise, but I guess not really when you like really think about their team. Third place in the division at 1-3. They actually got a dub this weekend, which I don't know why. That's just dumb. You should be tanking. But and then Chicago, yeah, Bears doing Bears things, 0-4. I read there's like a oh man, there's a great meme. Damn it. I don't want to set it up, but the Bears are like the only professional sports team to not have won a game since like some event has happened. There's like a meme about it.
I'll have to go find that.
Fucking A. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I remember seeing it on Reddit or Twitter or something. It was, yeah, the Bears haven't won a game since, so I don't know. Anyway, but it's just really, yeah, they haven't won a game for a long ass time, and it's really funny, and I hope they just keep losing. It'd be great. And yeah, the Packers match up kind of like an extended break after like a short week. Like they played a Thursday night, and now they don't play till Monday against the Raiders. The Raiders in Vegas.
I think that Green Bay is going to win this game.
If Devontae Adams plays and covers,
well,
I mean, if Jair Alexander plays and covers Devontae, like that's going to be must-see TV.
Yes, that's the matchup I have most looked forward to this season. But I definitely don't think it's going to be as good as we want because it seems like Garoppolo might not play.
Oh God, yeah, that's right. And there's another shocker, right? Garoppolo being
hurt midway through the season again.
Yep.
I don't know how that guy keeps getting jobs. You know, the best
I don't either.
Is availability. Yeah, I think he's a great guy to have in your locker room. I think he'd be a phenomenal backup, but he cannot stay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the Raiders are in shambles. Josh McDaniels is just a fucking just embarrassment to coaching. I think the Packers are going to be able to win this one out. I've got some faith.
If Joe Barry doesn't let Jair shadow Devontae, then Devontae's going to cook that defense, and he may or may not get targets because of the backup QB. But I mean, he's going to be open all day if Jair isn't allowed to shadow him. If Jair is allowed to shadow him, please, just fucking please. If we learned anything from Justin Jefferson last year, when Jair is allowed to shadow, he fucking shuts down these receivers. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I think I had the. Let me just check quick. I think I had. Yeah, we both had the Packers winning this game at the start of the year. So hopefully they can.
I definitely think they will. It really seems like Josh McDaniels is outclassed as a coach. And even if LaFleur is bad, I just don't think that it's going to be enough, even especially with Garoppolo out.
Yep.
So so that's pretty much it for this week. Not as excitable as some of the other weeks, but right now we're just defeated fandom is what we are right now. So
yeah. And look for next week's episode, look forward to hopefully more Twins playoff talk if they can advance, because we'll continue to follow their journey. We'll certainly be keeping you all updated on Broncos and Packers and the games that happen between now and the next time we record. And also, too, look for our first installment of the Rodgers playoff loss.
Also,
deep dive.
With next week, look for some predictions about the NHL season, as next week's episode will be our last episode before the NHL season officially starts. So, we've got a lot happening in our next episode. Yeah, next one will be a good one.
And so, if football really isn't your jam, but you do enjoy the other sports, maybe you'll start to become more interested. But like we said, we're going to be talking about everything as it happens. So, and as we can, kind of move along with the seasons. So NHL, big episode next week.
Season is in full swing. We've got next week, and then I know I believe the Avalanche are going to be opening in LA on the 11th, which will be next week. So
nice.
All right. Well, we've been two defeated fans. If you liked what you saw, throw us a like and some comments. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't. And, be a friend, tell a friend. Subscribe, tell them to subscribe. Beat them up if they don't. And that's all for today, folks.
Peace.